nationwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:36 on this Monday morning. In 30 minutes, we'll hand it off to Chris Plant for his crack analysis of the DeSantis withdrawal from the race and how things are looking for New Hampshire tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. And Julie, we have news out of New Mexico, where over the weekend, Alec Baldwin was indicted once again on criminal involuntary manslaughter charges. And I'm sure you're wondering to yourself, wait a minute, I thought he's already dodged that. Well, not so much. Emily Miller is going to explain it all to us. Emily Miller, of course, from her fantastic and enlightening EmilyPostNews.com Substack. Emily, thanks for joining us, my friend.
It's my pleasure, as always.
So what's the story here? Because I thought that there were charges and then they decided that there wasn't enough evidence to try him. And is this a double jeopardy thing? What's going on?
Oh, no, this is not double jeopardy. He is going to trial. This is as serious as it can be. He's been indicted by a grand jury. The grand jury reported out on Friday that he's been indicted on 2 charges of involuntary manslaughter. One is the more serious charge, which is for total disregard or indifference for the safety of others. The other is also a felony for negligent use of a firearm.
Emily, you had reported before that the family of Helena Hutchins, the victim in this case, they were not going to cooperate because they had reached an out-of-court settlement with Alec Baldwin. So how does that play into this?
Well, the victim's family isn't going to be a witness because the victim, obviously, her name is Helena Hutchins, as you mentioned, has passed away. So they're witnesses that went to the grand jury with people who are on the set when Alec Baldwin, and just to remind people who haven't followed this case closely, Alec Baldwin was on a movie set in October 2021, and he took a gun that was loaded with real ammunition and pointed it directly at his cinematographer, Helena Hutchins. And even though he denies pulling the trigger, evidence has shown that he did pull the trigger, pulled back the hammer and pulled the trigger, shot her, killed her, and the bullet went through her and lodged in his director, Joel Souza's shoulder.
Sorry, Emily. Keep going.
So what you all have been asking about is sort of it's been back and forth because he was charged before. So when the district attorney originally picked up the case and the district attorney charged him with involuntary manslaughter, two counts, and then this has been such a complicated case and gone back and forth, mostly because Alec Baldwin has this really great legal team, and his legal team has gotten him out of this repeatedly. But that's not to say the same for the armorer. And the armorer on the set was the person who loaded the gun, or at least allegedly loaded the gun. She's going to trial next month, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. So she's been quite the scapegoat of this whole situation while he has gotten out of it. And now that's no longer the case since he's been charged equally.
Well, Emily, tell us also, there's this new video that came out that is pretty damning to Alec Baldwin. Do you know the one that came out in November and what it shows?
Yeah, that's NBC released that videos. They were just showing that Alec Baldwin, the intent was actually supposedly to help Alec Baldwin. It showed him that he knows the gun safety rules because he pointed people out of the direction of his gun and he pulled it. They released it. His team released it to NBC most likely just to try to help him. But what's really the most important thing here to know is that he already tried to have a plea deal with the prosecution a few months ago, and it fell through mostly due to his own fault. And again, as is NBC reporting, he seems to have a tie-in with his legal team. So that means this case is going to a jury trial because there's no way to have a deal.
And we're speaking with Emily Miller. Emily News Post is the name of her Substack. Excuse me, Emily Post News is the name of her Substack where she does her independent reporting, and it's always great stuff. Emily, there's a lot of argument here about the fact that there was live ammunition on the set. There shouldn't have been live ammunition on the set. Alec Baldwin always claimed that when he was given the firearm on set, he was told that it was safe and just had blanks. All that being said, it is still ultimately his responsibility if he's pulling that trigger. That's partly why he claimed he never pulled the trigger, right?
Right. Well, his whole defense, and going into this trial, his defense is going to be, I didn't pull the trigger. But an FBI investigation, a forensics investigation, at Quantico, as well as an independent New Mexico state investigation, proved that the trigger was pulled. So that's going to be, we'll see what his new defense is going into this trial and what the jury thinks of it. But as you said, why he's being prosecuted is because he's bound to the same gun safety laws as all of us are, which is don't point a loaded gun. Don't point a gun at anyone. Don't pull the trigger. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot, and assume the gun is loaded. And he did not check to see if the gun was loaded with live rounds, which was obviously unexpected to be on a movie set.
Can you, and forgive me for being like trite here, but can his defense from that charge, Emily, be, listen, I'm an actor. I'm not expected to know such things. I'm just a dumb actor.
Yes, and it will be. It will be, except for the fact that the SAG union, the union for movies, has said that everybody needs to check their own gun. George Clooney famously came out and said, I always check my own gun.
Yeah.
So, yes, it will be, but it's in the eyes of the law. There's no, like, special carve-out for actors in movies. You know, like, you can't say to the grand jury, well, this law doesn't apply if you're an actor in a movie.
Right.
Right. Right? And so he's charged with total disregard or indifference for the safety of others. I mean, that's a pretty high charge.
Yeah. And on the face of it, it sure looks like he's guilty of that, because that's exactly what you see in this case, the disregard and reckless behavior. And God, and it's and I love the fact, the way you write about this story, Emily, you never lose sight of the fact that Helene is a human being, and she, everything it's all about Alec Baldwin and the actor in the movies, but this is a human being who lost her life for no reason on the set of this movie, and we shouldn't lose sight of that.
She was a wife and mother of a young boy, and she was killed because of his recklessness. And just to remind people, Alec Baldwin was asked multiple times by the armorer to ask to train using these guns. If he picked out these guns, these are real guns. These are not props. And he was asked to train, and he refused multiple times.
He's also a producer on this film, too, by the way. So, I mean, he's responsible for all the employees as the employer.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But he's not being charged in that regard. He's being charged mostly as what he did, which was he took a loaded gun, he pointed it directly he pulled it out of the holster, likely put his finger on the trigger at that point, pointed it at Helena Hutchins and pulled the trigger. Now, also remind people that after he did that, he left the set. He didn't try to help her. She bled out there for about 30 minutes, and he never came back.
Emily Miller, great reporting as always. Always appreciate your coverage of this story. I wish it were you who would have been able to interview him instead of George Stephanopoulos in that ridiculous propaganda interview.
I know. Well, if this goes to jury trial, which I expect this to go to a jury trial, probably not until next year, though, or late this year, I'm going to go to New Mexico and cover it myself, because this has been such an interesting case on whether Hollywood actors have privilege and special privilege in criminal justice.
Especially well-connected political actors like Alec Baldwin. Thank you, Emily. Great stuff.
Good point. You too. Talk to you later.
It is 8:40.